Alright, this was a doozy to edit. What this video was supposed to be originally was creating my ideal mothership, very similarly to the way that I created my ideal Pat McGrath quad in an earlier video. However, this very quickly became me floundering and identifying holes in my eyeshadow collection that was basically keeping me from being able to make a cohesive palette, and also kind of explaining why I struggled to put together looks or having more than one look for palette, basically. Now, this footage was taken over a year ago, and I say that because this is going to be coming out as sort of the first or second in a series on videos showing the evolution of my understanding of what eyeshadows flatter me and what I need for a cohesive collection. So hopefully that's interesting to you, and let's get into it. Hey, so today I wanted to think about putting together what would be my ideal palette. I did a video a while back on what my perfect quad would be, and it was fun to do because I realized in going through all my options, everything I could think of, that this quad is actually very similar to what my ideal quad would be. If I remember correctly, these two shades are either ideal or were one of the ideal options. And then these two shades, the brown, I like that it's a dark brown, but I wish it was much cooler toned. It runs a bit warm. I'd like the brown out of either Subliminal or Moonlit Seduction. And then this one, even though it's a very pretty shade, I don't really ever use it. And I would vastly prefer either one of Pat McGrath's very fine highlighter shades like Pink 003, or just one of her more boring inner corner shades that she puts in every Mothership. But overall, this is very similar to what I would want, and it makes it very easy for me to use. But hey, 3 out of 4 is pretty good. So I also have noticed as I've been putting on my eyeshadow recently that I feel constricted, which is kind of ridiculous because I have 3 motherships and a quad. These are, wait, this isn't all my eyeshadows. What do I have? I also have, I guess I do also have this from, is it Per? Is that how you pronounce it? And I don't like this eyeshadow palette. I got this because it was on super sale and I was curious about it. And I also thought that these 3 shadows, the more pigmented ones, would be much brighter and much cooler toned. These are very muddy, even in the pan. I don't like this. Some of the lighter, sparkly shades are fun to work with, but don't really care for this palette very much. So I guess I do have this, but I don't really use it. I don't really like it. But I have all of these. Here, let me go ahead and open them. So I have Subliminal, Moonlit Seduction, Divine Rose 1, and I believe this is called the Risque Rose Quad. And I feel like every time I go to do my eyeshadow, I just want to go to the quad. Like, I pick up this quad 90% of the time. I kind of feel like I could have just gotten this and been a lot happier than having all of these. Even though individually I feel like I like these palettes, or at the very least I like these two. Divine Rose I'm a little bit split on. But every time I go to do my eyeshadow, I'm just like, oh, well, I want that pink. And I want something glittery. And maybe I want a liner. Although generally I'll pull out one of these and use one of these brown shades. Overall, I know I like colors in these palettes. Like, I really enjoy, let's see, I like these 2 sparkly colors. I enjoy using the liners in here. And in Moonlit Seduction, I really love this color. This was kind of the reason I got the palette. And I like this really, it's a silvery shade, but there's supposed to be a lavender in there. It just ends up looking super cool toned and it's very pretty. But I always default to this one. I always come back and default to this eyeshadow. And I kind of want to do like a bit of an exercise and figure out why that is and try to build out. I'm just going to go for a 10 pan. Like if I could have a mothership that has anything in it, like even colors that Pat McGrath has never made, what would I put in it? And I want to do this now because I've been starting to research indie shadows a bit and looking at singles, and I might buy something. And if I do that, I want to have thought through what it is that I'm missing that I need to add to my collection in order to use what I already have. Or even figure out if I just really don't like any of these. I don't think that's true. Yeah, let's go ahead and get into it because I'm just sort of blathering right now. So, what would I put in a 10 pan? So, first things first, I love this pink. This pink needs to be in a palette. I feel like I would also like a something that's more pink and less fuchsia. Something that looks like, I guess on camera, no, this one looks more pink. I don't know if you can tell the difference. This one's more of like a fuchsia color, and then this one is more of like a bright pink color. And I like both of these. And I have actually tried to use this blush as eyeshadow, and it's fine if you're going for that very like lightly colored ethereal look. But if you're going for something that's a bit more pigmented, this is hard to build up on the eyes as much as you can build up an eyeshadow like this. And that's just the formulation, I assume. It's a blush, so I like that about it as a blush. I like this color. I wish that this color was a little bit more cool toned, a little bit brighter. Even though it's already very bright, I would prefer something that's a bit more bright. But I would like a few different options for pink because I seem to gravitate towards this pink pretty heavily. This is in most of my looks, and I really like this, and it's very flattering on me. But I'd like to have both of these colors, and maybe another pink. I'm trying to think if I would want something like my Haus Labs blush. Or, well, this is a highlighter, but I use it as both. But no, I don't think I would add that one. Okay, so we have 2 pink mattes. Maybe I want one of them to be a satin. Not sure, but maybe. Okay, I just realized that my microphone was a bit further away from me than I thought it was, so I brought it closer. Hopefully that makes it easier to hear. All right, so as I was saying, so I find the way that I like to do my eyeshadow makeup is I really like to have a bright color in my crease, and specifically a bright matte color in my crease, and follow it up with something very sparkly on my lids. Like something sparkly, but also something that isn't dark, and something that is maybe a little bit sheer or can be sheared out. I don't like having really pigmented or dark colors on my lid because it makes my eyes look smaller, and it's just, I don't know. It's not a great look for me. I like having something sparkly on my lid and something really pigmented, preferably bright in my crease. And this is my only bright matte. I also have this plummy matte from Moonlit Seduction, and I do like this. Don't get me wrong, I do like this. I think every time I pull this palette out, I'm probably using this in my crease. And I'm usually putting this color on my lid, and I'm using this color somewhere. I might use this color as a liner. It looks very, I don't know. It looks very Moonlit Seduction. Like, it makes sense. Like, I don't dislike this at all. But I really like the option of having a bright color. And it kind of bums me out that this is my only one. And that's what I want on my eyes most of the time I go to do eyeshadow. So, I think I need, or I would like to try out having a few different options of matte bright eyeshadows. So if I were building out a 10 pan, man, how many would it make sense to have? I mean, I'd want this. I would want like a different color. I'd want a different pink color. So let's say 4. 4 would be good, right? That would take up like the majority of the palette, but I think I would enjoy that. What other colors do I like? So this is part of the reason I wanted to do this, is because I feel like sometimes I don't know what I like, which makes kind of sense. Like, yes, I have this makeup right here, but these are the only makeup, or not the only makeup, the only eyeshadow palettes that I've had. So figuring out what I like is kind of hard. I do know I don't want golds. Pat McGrath has really turned me off of golds. And I love this color, except it has gold in it. This is such a beautiful color, but the gold makes it look very unflattering on me. I still wear it sometimes. It's lovely. But I don't like it, and I don't like it on me. So I feel like a lot of these colors just aren't me. I like things that are very cool toned and very bright. And sometimes I think that what I really want is I want subliminal, but instead of blue as kind of the cornerstone color, I want a pink. Maybe I should keep track of this. Maybe I should write this down. So, what do I like and what do I not like? Okay, I'm going to put this here. There's no way you're going to be able to read this. I will, if I remember, I'm going to put this up on the screen for you. So let's say don't like. Do you like? So I like bright mattes. I don't like golds. What else? Well, what do I use? I like using this. I like using this. So I like this color. I don't think I even need any more of this kind of thing because I have this really beautiful silver purple color. I have this silver lavender color. And there's one other somewhere. Oh, here you go. This Astral Solstice. This is like the best thing that Pat McGrath has ever made, honestly. It's probably my favorite shadow. These two are actually my favorites. And it's sad that they're in this palette because I literally don't use any of the others. Just these two. So I feel like I'm floundering here. I don't know what to put in this palette. This is hard. Okay. Maybe if I pretend that when I have this new palette, I don't have any of these. All of these will just go poof and be gone. Maybe that'll help me decide what I need. Because then I can go through and keep what I want in here and then add to it. How about that? And I think I might not hold myself to a tin pan then. You know what? Let's just figure out what it is that I want. I'm going to throw the tin pan thing to the side. I get as many pans as I want. So, what do I want? Let's keep track of this now. What do I want? So, 4 bright mattes. 2 of them are going to be pink. Haven't figured out what the other 2 will be. Maybe I want a blue. You know, I really like this blue shade. It's very pretty. But when it goes on me, it's just not quite as bright as I would like, you know? You see how it gets a little bit muddy on my skin? And I think that's my skin tone. I have a very saturated skin tone, and I've got a lot of olive undertone to my skin. And I have a lot of pink in my skin, and that can do weird things to colors. And I like the idea of this color, but I want it to look blue, bright blue on my eyes. And this never looks bright blue on my eyes. I have tried layering it on top of other things. I've tried layering on top of this. That looks better. But that's a lot of work. And it still doesn't really give me the payoff that I want. This still looks too dark and too muddy. So maybe I would like a bright blue. I don't know if I could get a bright blue to actually work on me. No purple, though. Purple always does weird things on my skin tone. It just mixes with the olive undertone and it looks brown. I'd probably keep both of these, the black and the brown eyeliner shades. I just like using them as eyeliner. One of these shades, I really do think like all of these are almost the same. Actually, I do think that these are the exact same shade. The one in Subliminal and the one in Divine Rose 1. This one's a little bit brighter. This is probably the one that I like the best, but this is just ever so slightly different from this one. I think this one's a little bit more yellow and this one's a little bit more either just saturated or maybe even has like a little bit of a pink tinge to it. I like this one better. You know, as much as I don't feel very excited about this color, I actually kind of like it simply because I have this color too and they pair together so well. And this silver lavender color. These three just are absolute hero colors in this palette for me. And I think that these are probably the only ones I really use. I like these two colors too. I don't really care about anything else in the palette. And don't get me wrong, some of these other colors are very pretty. This is actually very pretty gold. I just don't wear gold because it looks bad on me. I wouldn't keep anything else. I would be totally fine getting rid of everything else. I don't use like these really dark metallic shades. It's very pretty. I mean, like, look at that. Goodness. Isn't that beautiful? It looks so understated in the pan, and then when you put on here, it's like this grungy, beautiful, sparkly, not even silver. It's more like a gunmetal color. Oh, it's so pretty. I hate it on my lids though. You know, it's too dark for me. It's too dark. It's something I could put not on my lids, like outer V or lower lash line, but I have so many other colors I'd rather work with. It's a pretty color, but I don't like it. I don't like dark. I like bright and I like sparkly. I like bright and sparkly. And if I don't do bright and sparkly, if I'm like wearing this to an office or something, I'm literally wearing maybe a liner color, the inner corner highlight, and this color in the crease. And that's it. So I'd want to keep these. These two are lovely shadows, but I just haven't figured out how to use them, and I don't think the way that I like to do eyeshadow, I need these. I would want to keep this whole quad just because of the formula. Frankly, I never use this one, even though it's a very pretty gold. I don't like it. This I just keep on trying to use, and I can't figure out how to use it. It just doesn't work very well for me. Maybe if I like build it up. It looks so much prettier in the camera than it does in person. In person, it's just like, how do I tilt it? It looks like that. It just looks like that. Like in the camera, you can see that sheen when the light hits it, and it's just like that beautiful, like brilliant ocean blue. You know what would be interesting? Like you're seeing the teal flip of this in the pan. Like the base of it is really kind of this color, but the flip is teal, or kind of like this. It's like this greenish, bluish, lightish, silvery color. What if I had that in a matte? Like in a bright matte, like a bright teal. I don't know if that would look flattering on my eyelids, but I would like to try it. Maybe that could be the fourth matte color. I would want pink, I would want a bright blue, and maybe a bright teal. I think that would be cool. You know what? I need to look at a color wheel. What other colors am I forgetting about? So I can throw out anything that's like on the warmer side of the color wheel. So all the reds, or well, I could do maybe a blue red. A blue red I would try. I don't think that it would be flattering, but I would try it. Any of the oranges, anything that's orange, no, it makes me look like I'm dying. Anything yellow, absolutely not. Green, like a true green, I don't think it's necessarily unflattering on me, but I just don't like that color. I just don't care for the color green on me. So I'm going to skip out on all the greens, but a blue-green, I think when we get to like blue-green, so blue-green, blue, blue-violet, violet, red-violet, those all sound good except for the purpley colors, the violet and the red-violet might not work on my lids. Just because of the olive undertone. Sometimes that changes them to something a lot more grungy than I want, even if it's very bright in the pan. So I think anything that's violet or purple would probably be a no, but you know, I think I might be able to get away with like a blue violet, like a purple that Or no? Probably more like a blue that leans heavily purple. I could do that. Like that purple, like royally blue. I could maybe do that. So, I think I could have a matte color from all of those areas. Yeah, maybe a few different kinds of blue. Maybe like a bright blue and then like a deeper blue. And I want them to be bright. I want them to be just as bright as this. I want them to be very cool toned too. This is almost not cool toned enough for me. Yeah, so I think all these palettes maybe run a little bit too neutral for me. Maybe that's my issue. Or not neutral. I mean, yes, neutral, but muted. I think that's the color I'm looking for because I like brights. And these are all much more muted than this color. I feel like I just want like a pink unicorn palette, Like I want bright blue, bright pink, and I want sparklies. And I want a liner color. Is that it? Is that all I want? I really wish Pat McGrath would make bright pigmented things again. Do you remember when Utopian Dream was being like marketed and the palette hadn't been released yet and no one had seen the palette yet and everyone thought it was going to be like this like unicorn bright sparkly palette and then you literally get like one or maybe there's two colors in the palette that goes with that theme and everything else is like it's like Divine Rose 3 basically. Well, the coral version of Divine Rose. But I want the palette that was teased. That's what I want. I want like the larger version of this, like based on these top two colors and like ignoring these two. But yeah, that's what I want. I want the large version of this palette, I think. And none of these are that. None of these have that brightness to them. They do have sparkle to them, which I appreciate. So I've been thinking about looking at indie eyeshadows and picking out singles. Because I've been waiting for Pat McGrath to make sort of like my perfect palette, and I don't think that she ever is. If she was going to do that, she would have done it around the Barbie movie. And instead we got Sunlit Seduction, which is, I think it's a neutral palette. It leans pink, sure, but none of those colors compete with this. So I've kind of given up on that. And I'd really like to create my own palette. I mean, what I'd really like to do is depot one of these and pop in a bunch of indie eyeshadows into these and make like my own Mothership because I like the packaging. I really love the packaging. But I recently learned that Pat McGrath uses 30mm pans. And almost everyone else uses either 26mm pans, and that's like the majority, like that's sort of your standard pan size. And then some places will offer 37 or 36 or 37mm pans. It's unlikely that I would find anything that would be in a 30mm pan that I could just, pop in here. Not that these are easy to depot or anything. But I'd like to just get colors that I like. Because even though I love Pat McGrath's formulations, I love how these work on my eyes, the colors just don't cut it for me. They're not what I want. I think I like a minority of the shadows in each one of these Motherships, which is sad. I feel I'm both overwhelmed and constricted when I go to put eyeshadow on my face. And I don't want to feel that about my makeup. I want my makeup to be fun to put on. I want a lot of things that I enjoy and kind of go together, Do I like the idea of having to use multiple palettes for one eye look? No. I'm very much, I like being able to open one palette and use just that palette. I don't like the idea of having to open multiple palettes in order to get a look. And that's part of the reason I really like the idea of getting a Mothership, because Pat McGrath does do a really good job in designing these so that all of these colors in these palettes go together. But my problem is most of these just don't work for me. Most of these trend too warm. Divine Rose 1, this is a neutral leaning warm palette to me. And frankly, these two colors are incredibly warm toned and I straight up can't wear them. These colors over here, I still think they run warm. But I think the reason that they work so poorly for me is there's like a There's like a purple, violet, lavender undertone to a lot of them, and that just looks bad on me. And I think if I didn't have an olive undertone to my skin, these would work better. So I think maybe if I do try out some singles, they need to be bright mattes. But I'm really struggling to think of like if I put together a palette, what would that look like? Like if I could pop all of these out of here and that wasn't an issue. I don't know. I don't know if I have the answer to that right now. I thought this was going to be a lot easier. I thought this was going to be a lot easier a video to do. This is really hard. This is very challenging. I am having trouble even figuring out what colors I would like, much less like how to put them in a symbol into a palette. I think maybe I need to do more exploring on what I like, which is sad because I feel like I already have a lot of eyeshadows. But I do think that I would enjoy using more what I have if I had more bright eyeshadows and more options. I want a brighter pink. I think I'd also like to try some bright blues, especially to use as a base for this one to see if I can brighten it up. And I'd love to try a teal too, a really bright teal, and see how that pairs with this eyeshadow. I'm not sure if there's any other matte colors I would like. So I think maybe if I do give in and I get some single eyeshadows, try out some indie brands, I think what I need to focus on right now is mattes. I don't think I really need any more sparkly shadows. I'm actually pretty cool with my sparkly shadows. I would love it if I could find a multi-chrome that was just like all of the cool tone colors in it. I guess we're not going to put together my ideal palette today. I don't think I know what it is yet. I think the best I can tell you is I would like to build out a palette based on these two shades, maybe more color to it because I want multiple bright mattes. So I think I need to try more things out. But yeah, I don't think I can build a palette that I like out of the eyeshadows that I have now. And maybe that's why I'm struggling so much when I pull out my eyeshadow and why I don't feel inspired. And I kind of feel like I only have a few looks that I do. And then I like never know what to do with Subliminal. Like Subliminal should be my favorite palette because I have very cool tone skin and this is a very cool tone palette. I think the answer here is I need more mattes. I need more bright mattes for my crease. I was hoping that by doing this, I would talk myself out of getting more eyeshadows. I would talk myself out of getting indie brand stuff, but I think I actually need some bright matte eyeshadows. So there you go. I'm gonna see if there's some way for me to stitch together all of this really rambly video footage. We'll see how that goes. I think I might have a round 2 of this sometime in the future once I've gotten my hands on some bright mattes and played around with them. Maybe then I'll have a better idea of what a ideal palette would look like for me. So this is me from the future. I finally gotten around to editing this video and I realized that this ended on a very unsatisfying note. Originally, I didn't even bother to try to put together like all of these colors into a palette. I just kind of gave up and I was like, oh, well, there's a bunch of things that I need. And I had like this list and that's about it. So what I'm going to do is finish this video off by just swatching on my arm all of the colors in here that I enjoy and that I make cohesive looks with and that I would try to fit into like my, at this point, like ultimate Pat McGrath palette. And I think you'll see that there's a lot of like gaps in this palette that I will make, and there's a couple of things that I think originally I would have included in this like grouping of colors that I use a lot and that I like a lot. And I'm just going to go ahead and point out that I actually didn't like them that much, but I'm going to include them like in this arm swatch. So let's go ahead and get swatching. So, and as you can see in these swatches, I don't really have that many mattes. And of the mattes that I do have on here, I really only have one transition color, which I actually don't like that much. I didn't realize that at the time, but this doesn't actually work that well for me. This black also doesn't work that well for me. And as much as I wouldn't have been able to get rid of the blue, I don't really use this blue that much. So I'm kind of left with a lot of glitters. And then I have some pinks, this plum, almost mauve-y color. And I mean, I like most of the inner corner highlights that I have. And that's kind of it. And I think this kind of shows why I have some issues creating eye looks, is most of the colors that I like out of these palettes are shimmer shades. And I do really like the look of having a transition shade, a crease deepening shade, and then putting glitter everywhere. But I really don't have those matte shades. So hopefully that gives you a little bit more of a closure to this video. This is basically the palette that I would have come up with out of what I have. If you got to the end of this, congratulations. I don't know how you paid attention to all this because this was very rambly. There's a reason I called this channel Blathering, and this video is a good example of why. So I hope this was entertaining. I hope you enjoyed this. I hope you got something out of this. I think my next video is going to be me purchasing stuff. So stay tuned for that. Thank you so much for spending your time with me. I really appreciate it. If you like this video, I hope that you'll like it. If you like this kind of content, I hope you'll subscribe. And I hope to see you in the next one. So bye for now.